To slow down a little bit, so we'll get started. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alyssa. I am the head of youth services here at Cary Library, and I am super excited today to welcome Saadia Faruqi, who is the author of the Yasmin books, as well as A Place at the Table and 1,000 Questions, which are two middle grade novels that I'm also really excited about. So we are super excited to have her today, thanks to generous donors to the Cary Memorial Library Foundation who have made today's event possible. If you would like to purchase books signed by Saadia, we can do that for you through Bank Square Books. There's a link to that on the event page that you signed up for through the library's event page, and we'll put a link in the chat for you later. And you can purchase signed books through them. But I'm going to turn it now over to Saadia for her presentation. There will be an opportunity at the end for Q&A. So if you have questions for Saadia at that point, I'm going to come back on and you can put your questions into the Q&A box and I will ask her your questions. All right, thank you, Saadia. All right, guys, so now it is your chance to ask some questions. So if you have a question you would like to ask, I'm going to ask you to put it into the Q&A. If you have a statement, and I know you guys all know the difference between a statement and a question. If you have a statement, put it into the chat. So if you just want to say, I love your books, put that into the chat. But if you have a question, put that into the Q&A, and I am going to ask them to Saadia. So while I'm giving you guys a chance to think of all your good questions and type them in, I got a couple of questions. So you wrote A Place at the Table with Laura Shovan. How is it different writing with a partner than it is writing a book by yourself?
Yeah, this is the book, so different from the Yasmin books, and I'm super excited about this one too. It's really different and interesting writing with another person. It's kind of like a group project, right? If you're in school, wherever you're working with other people, it's going to be a challenge because then you have to have different personalities working together. You might not agree with everything. So that's the same thing writing with a partner. Laura and I did a lot of planning and discussing of what each of our responsibilities would be before we started writing. And so, you know, we actually didn't know each other very well. We had just met each other a couple of times. So it took about a year to write the book. And that 1 year also was kind of a progression of our friendship. So we got to know each other. We talked a lot on the phone, and we were each writing separate chapters. So if you read the book, it's alternate chapters from my character's perspective and then from hers and back and forth. So it was easy in that way. But we still had to make sure we were on the same page. We were, you know, not stepping on each other's toes. So I'm not going to say it was easy. It was hard, but it was a challenge. And I think that, you know, read the book and you'll find out, you can kind of figure out whether we did a good job of it or not.
I think you did a good job of it.
Thank you.
So your writing process, do you consider yourself a plotter or a pantser?
So for those of you who don't know, a plotter is a person who just plots and decides what's going to be in the book before they start writing. And a pantser, I think that comes from the term flying from the seat of your pants, I guess. I don't know. Where you just start writing and you don't know where it's going to go. I don't know who those people are who do this pantsing, because you have to know what your story is going to be. You have to know writing a story has specific things, right? There's a plot, there's something has to happen, there has to be things in place for a story to be good. And so I do a lot of plotting. I'm actually a very intense plotter, so I will write a whole summary of the whole book, then I will write chapter by chapter outlines, and then I start writing the story. Now that doesn't mean the story ends up exactly like that. So oftentimes I'll go back and then I revise my summaries and I revise my idea of what it's going to be, but having that roadmap means that I can just write and I know, okay, this chapter, this is going to happen. And then I'm not kind of stressing out, oh no, I was supposed to do this and it ended up something totally different. So I do a lot of prep before I actually start writing.
So what kind of future adventures does Yasmin have in store? Can you give us any hints?
I don't know. It's always interesting. I'm actually working on new ideas for next year. So we've kind of my editor at that publisher and we kind of sit together and we say, okay, what should Yasmin do next? A lot of times it's people my readers, especially kids, when I do school visits, they will tell me, will Yasmin do this, or can she do this? And so sometimes that ends up being a part of my brainstorming as well. I don't know exactly, we haven't decided what she's gonna do next yet, although we should be deciding very soon. But there'll definitely be something sports related because I get a lot of requests. That's why we had Yasmin, the soccer star, last year, because so many kids were like, why can she play this sport and can she play that sport? So there will be at least one sport book again this year, but hopefully by the end of this month, I'll have a better idea. But it's all second grader stuff. It's all stuff that any of you people who have been in that age of your life and you're familiar with, things that you would do.
So some of the questions from the audience. What made you move?
Ooh, what made me move? I had finished college, and I actually technically moved because I got married and my husband lived here. He's also from Pakistan, but he had already moved to the US. He was studying, he was in college, and he had finished that, but he originally moved to go to college here. And so I moved to be with him, but it was, we both decided that we wanted to not live in Pakistan just so that we would have more opportunities, better jobs, things like that. So neither of our professions were things that we would be able to really do well and excel over there. So that's why we came here. It's been a long time now. This is my 22nd year in the US, so pretty cool.
So Esther writes, thank you for the wonderful presentation. We had a question about the writing process and illustrations. Do you write with the images in mind, or do you collaborate with the illustrator after the story is done?
Oh, no to both of them, actually. I only write the story. So I can have some idea of specific things. Actually, where's the one that I was reading? So remember how Yasmin says that she wants to do it all by herself, and her Baba is a bit scared that, so this one. So when I wrote this part, I put in a little like italics, I said, Baba is speaking from the door, just so that the artist would know that this was part of the story, but I wasn't writing the words. And so we needed to kind of share that in the art. But otherwise, I don't get to decide what art goes where, what he's gonna draw. He does that all by himself. So once I've written the story, he gets the text, and then he will come up, he does sketches first, and then he'll show me. I can't say no, I don't like any of it, but I can make sure that it's accurate or it's appropriate or it's authentic. If there's something that's wrong, I can say, no, this is not, something that factually might not be correct, for example. But otherwise, I don't get to choose or to decide any of that. And it's always a surprise to me, what he's gonna put, which parts of my story he's going to bring to life in the art. That's always like, I look forward to it, and I'm like, okay, what's it gonna be? What's he gonna choose? So.
Gia would like to know if you make any magical books.
I don't, but my philosophy in life is never say never. I never say I'm not gonna ever do something, because you never know, right? People change, things change. But so far I have not. All my work has been very much contemporary, realistic fiction. And I think the reason is because that's what I like reading. Most of the time I don't like reading magical or fantasy stuff. My kids do, both of them, but not me. So I guess you have to really, like I told you in my when I was doing my presentation, right? Reading is a very big part of writing. So the kind of stories that you read a lot, you'll ultimately realize that you like to write things like that too, because that's what you're thinking, that's what you're imagining. And for me, realistic stories about people who live in real life and their messy lives or their difficult lives or their fun lives, that's what I like writing about. But you never know.
Do your own kids have a favorite book that they like best of yours?
Oh, of mine? I don't know. I don't my kids are much older than my target audience, right? So my daughter is still at the age where she can read my middle grade novels, but she doesn't like reading contemporary fiction. So even though I make her read my book so that I can get her, her feedback, it's not like she wouldn't. I remember I gave her 1,000 questions to read. I was like, you should read it basically also because I got the idea for it from when we went to Pakistan and I was watching her. And she read the whole thing. And then I said, what did you think? She was like, it's okay. Well, I have fans who think my books are pretty awesome. You might not be one of them, but that's okay. Yeah, so they're not. Yeah, I'm glad I have other readers. They're very supportive. My family is so supportive of me and my work, but they're not gonna necessarily pick up one of my books to read.
So you mentioned that watching her in Pakistan was an inspiration for 1,000 Questions. What else has inspired your writing?
Oh my gosh, my kids inspire. So far, I've inspired everything. I mean, the Yasmin series Yasmin is based on my daughter. When she's 11 now, but when she was a little kid, she was about maybe 6 or something, and she would just get very she didn't read a lot because she kept saying none of the people in the books are like me. I don't want to read about them. And that's how I got the idea for the Yasmin books. I basically said, you know what, if she needs a book about a kid like her, I'm going to write a book about a kid like her. So I basically wrote a book about a girl who was just like my daughter, who even looked like her. My daughter had that short hair with the headband and the sassy attitude and the bangles and the necklaces and everything. And her personality was just like that, where she would, stomp her foot and get upset and worried if things weren't going her way. But she's also very creative and imaginative. So, and Yasmin's whole family is like my family. And I basically, just copied her life, and not the stories, but just the inspiration behind it. So basically that's how I am. I watch my own family or people like who I know, and I'm like, this would make a good story, or that will set a spark to come up with something else. It's always, even people who write fiction or total fantasy, they're still looking around them. Your ideas still come from around you. You might put it in a way that's not recognizable, but you're being inspired from somewhere.
When you were writing the Yasmin books, how much time did it take for the book to get published?
Well, I mean, do you mean the first book ever, or just generally whenever I write one?
They didn't specify, so I would say author's choice.
Well, I mean, the first time I wrote something, the first Yasmin book, actually didn't think it was going, I didn't write it to be published. I was writing it for my daughter. I was writing the story so that she would be interested in writing. But it took a while, and then I decided, you know what, let me just send it out and see if it gets published or not. And I had written other books before that, and I would submit them, and they never got accepted. Obviously, the whole point of a writer's journey is that you write. Every writer that you'll ever meet, they'll have so many books they've written that never got published. That's part of the process. That's how you become better. So I had already been very unsuccessful in publishing. I had 2 books that I'd written for adults that got published, but no kids books so far. And then when I sent this one out, Capstone, my publisher, said yes, they were interested, but then it took them more than a year to actually, start the process. So they said there was just stuff going on, and that's how publishing is very, very slow. So I think it took about 3-4 years before the book ever saw the light of day. And obviously my daughter was long past that age of those books. So I said, well, at least other kids will enjoy it, even if mine doesn't. Now, if I write a Yasmin books, it takes about approximately a year from the time that I start writing. So I'm going to start writing the books for next year now. And but that's also because the art takes a long time. The story itself doesn't take a long time, but have them take several months to draw the art. Art is always, much more time consuming. Mm-hmm. So once you get a contract and you have to write this book and the publisher's on board, then it doesn't take as long.
How did you come up with the title of 1,000 Questions?
Ooh, you have to read the book, and then you'll know, because Mimi, one of the two main characters in the book, this one, she is holding a journal in her hand. So she is from America, and her dad has left them. So she and her mom live together, and her dad has disappeared, but she really misses her dad. And she's got this beautiful journal in which she writes letters to her dad, even though she knows that he's never going to actually see them, but it's just like her journal. She's just writing her feelings. And she writes all kinds of questions to him. She's like, big questions like, why did you leave us? And little questions like, I wonder what your favorite food is, or what do you like to do at night, or where are you right now? So she just has, her whole life is full of questions, and nobody is able to give her any answers to those questions. So this whole book is about her questions and how she, along with Sakina, the other girl, how they try to get some of those answers.
So you mentioned we have 4 new Yasmin books to look forward to next year. Is there anything else coming out on the horizon?
Oh my God, lots of secret stuff. The sad part about being an author is that most of the stuff you're working on, you can't share until the time is right. So I have many, many things coming that I actually can't share, but I can, there are a few things that I can share. I have another middle grade novel coming in September. It's called Yusuf Azim is Not a Hero. It's actually a 9/11 book. So, this year is going to be the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And so this is a book about a young boy, Yusuf Azim, whose family is going to be celebrating the 20th anniversary. And he reads a journal of his uncle that's from 20 years ago. And his uncle is talking about 9/11 as it actually happened. So it's like kind of like a back and forth in time situation, but then also how things were then versus how they are now. And sometime, I believe on the 1st or so of February, we'll be able to reveal the cover of that book. So if you follow me on social media, you'll be able to finally see the cover. It's really cool. And that will come out in September. What else? I'm working on a picture book. I'm working on a graphic novel. I'm working on more Yasmin books, but all those are things that I can't really tell you more about until later. But I also have a nonfiction book coming out that I'm actually co-writing with my mom, and that's pretty cool. It's a biography collection. It's a middle grade nonfiction, and it's going to have short biographies of 30 people from different parts of the world and different periods in history. That's going to be full of art and really cool.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
How many books do you think you're going to write?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
No pressure.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know, because so much of being a published author is not in your control. So I can say I want to write 100 books, but that doesn't really mean anything, right? Because I can write books, whether they get published or not is a totally different thing. So at the end of the day, you just have to think, what are you going to do? But then not really try not to worry too much about the end result. I know that the Yasmin books, right now they're already a total, I have 20 books. There are like 16 Yasmin books, plus my 2 middle grade novels, plus I've written books for adults. So that's pretty cool for just 2 or 3 years of work. And I'm very blessed and grateful that when you have a series, you end up writing more than if you didn't have a series. So the answer is I don't know, but I'll try to write as much as possible, just because I know that kids love reading, especially with the Yasmin books. That's a lot of fun and adventure that she can get up to. I still have a lot of stories.
We love reading Yasmin. Thank you for creating the series to give my daughters relatable reading material. Did you take any training or attend any workshops to be able to write? How much of your time is dedicated to your writing career?
So I did in the beginning. I haven't recently taken any classes. I actually teach writing classes to other people. So I guess I've gotten to that point where I don't feel like I know everything, but I do know enough that I can impart my knowledge to others who are more starting out. But when I was starting out, I used to take online classes and, webinars and things like that. So I would suggest if any of you are interested in writing, even if your kids, they have like online or even in-person writing classes for teens and younger kids as well, or at any stage really. My writing career, I mean, I'm basically a professional writer at this point. This is my job. So it's not 9 to 5 just because I also have a family. So, I have to do boring things like cooking, which I don't enjoy that much, but I still have to do them. So like today, I had to go grocery shopping, which, these days is kind of also stressful because you actually have to go and wear a mask and be near people. But so today my work day didn't start till after lunch, but sometimes I try to have the whole day regardless. Sometimes I'm doing school visits, sometimes I'm writing, sometimes I'm just thinking, and people think I'm doing nothing, but thinking is a very big part of writing. So I dedicate pretty much a lot of my time, even if I was reading books. So reading is a big part of being a writer because you have to kind of recharge and be motivated and energized. And so, if you see a writer just hold up somewhere with a book, they're having fun reading, but they're also doing it for their craft. So if any of you who are into writing, just know that it doesn't only have to be writing. It can be a lot of other things, including reading books.
Miriam would like to know if Yasmin will ever go to 3rd grade.
Oh, a lot of people ask me that, even if she'll be a teenager or she'll grow up. I don't think so. I think that she's in 2nd grade for a reason. She's there because 2nd grade is just the awesomest time in your life because you are learning so much. You're not a baby anymore. You're a big kid. You're learning about life. 2nd graders learn a lot of new things. And it's just a very special time to be. So, so far we don't have any plans, but if my publisher really insists, I don't know, but I'll kind of resist that. But if you are a reader and you're past the age of Yasmin, then I write my other books for you too, right? Then you can graduate to my middle grade novels. And so she is the right age for a 2nd grade.
How did you come up with the name Yasmin?
How did I come up with the name Yasmin? When I was creating this character, somebody said I'm in grade 2 too. See, she knows what I'm talking about. Grade 2 is cool. I wanted to choose a name that was easy to pronounce, that was easy to say, that wouldn't be hard for little kids to say. But I also wanted a name that was common in a lot of cultures, because even though Yasmin is Muslim and she's from Pakistan or South Asia, she's very much like any 1st generation kid, right? No matter where you are from the world. And that's why she's so popular. Like I had a library visit recently where there were librarians from Japan joining us. So no matter where you're from, there are parts of the Yasmin story. Most of them are relevant, or they're I guess what's the right word? People can identify with that character no matter who you are. You don't have to be exactly like her. So I wanted a name that reflected that. And I thought, whether it's Yasmin or Yasmin or Jasmine, however, there's kind of the same name, just to pronounce differently. It's a common name in a lot of cultures. And so I kind of chose that for that reason.
I guess the last question we'll end with today, since we're getting close to the end of time here.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, we have a great conversation. Have you always written since you were a kid? Like, at what age did you really start writing?
Yeah, I actually showed the picture on my presentation. And that's the earliest memory I have of being a writer. I think that was, like I said, I believe I was like maybe 7 or 8 in that picture. And that's the time that I started writing in some form. I didn't know I was going to be an author, and I didn't even think writing was an important part of my life, but I was writing. I had these notebooks and I would write whatever I wanted. And as I grew older and older, I continued that. So pretty much all my life, right? But it wasn't consistent. There were, like, after I got into college and then I got married and I moved and I became a mom, there was like a whole, maybe more than a decade in which I didn't do any writing. But then I came back to it because, I loved it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. And again, thank you to the donors of the Carey Memorial Library Foundation who
Yeah,
made
thank
today's
you.
event possible. And as a reminder, if you would like to get a signed book by Saadia Faruqi, her books are available through Bank Square Books. There is a link in the chat, but there is also a link on the event where you registered for today's event where you can go to a page where they have the books that are available that will be signed. You order them for them and they will ship them directly to you.
Nice.
All of Saadia's books are also available through Carey Library, and we do have them available as ebooks as well on our Hoopla platform. All of the Yasmin titles are available. No waiting there. So those of you who are on long overdrive waiting lists, no waiting on Hoopla with the Yasmin books.
I didn't even know that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. I'm very grateful that the libraries are carrying them. And, you know, that's why I wrote this book, especially as a thank you to all my wonderful librarians, because you all have supported me so much and really made this book popular. So
well, the Yasmin series is a favorite among the Carey librarians. So we are happy to promote it. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope that you had a good time. I'm sorry if I didn't get to all of your questions. You guys asked so many wonderful questions, but we are out of time. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I really appreciated your time and listening to me, and happy reading.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I just wanted to say I did get all the questions,
Okay.
so we can close up. Oh, I forgot to stop the recording too.